This next card is a rather fun pop-out card with Father Christmas coming down the chimney with his dangly legs. So you'll need to print out the two parts. We've got the base sheet here, which is the actual pop-out part, and then the second sheet here, which we've got Father Christmas's legs, and we've got a Christmas tree which we're going to pop on, and a little panel here to pop behind the fireplace to make it look a little bit more realistic. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut out these bits and put those to one side, and then I'll come back and look at those, and then what I'm going to do now is show you with this simple pop out where we cut and how we make that work. I've printed mine out on a 130 GSM paper because really it's a very simple mechanism, and although it's pulling out a Christmas tree, it's not really got a great deal of work to do, and because there is a cutout and this moves out and you get a back behind it, as it were, a hole, I've printed out my main card here, and this is then going to just stick onto it, and that gives that a little bit more support as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just talk you through how we cut out this part here. Okay, I'm ready now to start on this. It's called a pop-out because it literally pops out of the paper. It's called a one-piece as well, the one-piece technique, and that really just means that we're a bit clever with our cutting and folding. We could just do conventional tabs and do it that way, but this works quite well. So a couple of points to note, and I'll talk you through it. First of all, as usual, if you've done some of these before, we're going to just concentrate on all the vertical lines here. That's the first thing. We've got these to cut out as well, but I'll show you how we do that. We don't cut the baseline, only go from the sides there, and I'll explain that as we go along. We don't cut the baseline here, but we will cut into the fireplace. So let me make a start here, and I'll just show you. All I'm going to do is simply cut along my line here, and that will free this line out. You can use a ruler for all of this, to be honest. I'm quite happy doing it freehand sometimes, and you can see that part there is now free up to there. Just caught a little bit on the corner, so I'll just free that off, and now I'm going to do the same for this side as well. So I'm simply going to come along now and cut these vertical lines. So then along we go. A nice simple one, this. As ever, it's really the tricky part comes in the folding, as it were, and getting those lines in. There we go. So that part there is free. This is all going to move up and out as it eventually folds. So the next thing to do is to cut out these shapes, because they actually pop out as well, or pop up. Don't cut the base, although there's a black line there. That was just really part of the graphics. If you just start at the side here, and you'll notice I'm using a craft knife. You really have to have a craft knife for this. You can't get your scissors in there. You don't have to if you don't want to cut these out. You could leave them flat, but really that would kind of spoil the look of it. It's a little bit complicated in as much as you have to be a little bit careful with your cutting, but the results are fantastic. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just cutting that but keeping the base free, and we mustn't ever bend that, and again I'll talk to you about that when we come to make up the card. I'm going to go along now and just cut the clock out and the other snowman here, the same technique, and then come back, and I'm just also now just going to cut the fireplace out here down to the line. We do not cut those lines there and there. I've got the flames in the fire. If you don't want those, you could cut those out. We've got Father Christmas coming down. If this is for a young child, it might alarm them, so feel free if you want to just to cut the flame out. It was designed to be either in or out. It's up to you. So the next thing to do is I'll go ahead and just cut these, and then we'll come back and have a look at how we score and then fold the card. Now with my ruler, my scoring tool here, I'm going to pop these lines in, one along the base here, because this folds. Then we've got the center line here, which is the difference between the wallpaper and the floor, and that just touches the side of the fireplace, there and there. And then we've got the mantelpiece here. Now there's a red line you'll see running along there, so what I'm going to do is just score that, and on the bottom of that is the base for the snowmen and the clock as well, so just along there. Okay, and last but not least we have the line at the back, which is the wall where it comes out. Now what you don't want to do is fold or score across either the snowmen or the clock. If I can show you there, I'm going to just be very careful and stop on the line as I come and score these. Be fairly firm with your scoring lines on here, because this is a little bit tricky to do, and the better the score lines, in all honesty, the easier it's going to be. Okay, now comes really the moment of magic, which is the actual folding part. So the first thing I'm going to do is the base here, and just twist that up, and my fireplace as well, but I can come back to that and just get these lines moving forward. Then I can work from the back as well if I need to. As you can see from here, once it starts to go, we get the line and then just pinch it, and that starts to set it up, so that's great. And that's our fireplace there. And then we've got the center part here. I like to get this in because fairly early on. That's a center line for folding there. That's great. Okay, so that's that part, and we can see it starting to come together now. It's all beginning to move out. So the next thing to do is the fireplace here. Now this is a little bit tricky. We've got a line along there which we want to pull out. Now carefully ease the clock and the snowmen up. We don't fold those at all. They're going to remain upright, and you'll see how that works. At this point it might help to just slip a ruler in behind, just to rest part of that against there. What I'm going to do is in fact I'm going to do the back part. I just pull that ruler up, keeping the clock out of danger as it were, and just start to get a little bit of a crease in there. Sometimes what you can do as well, let me just show you another technique which I use, is putting the ruler down here, and it looks quite violent, but actually pulling up either on the snowman or the mantelpiece itself, and just giving a good old tug there. It's just nice. Take your time with this. It'll all come together, and we just start to feel two things are happening. We can see the mantelpiece coming up, and then this line is working for me as well. Sorry, that's coming in. I'm kind of getting two effects for one, and there we go. You can see now I've got the basic folds there. Now that these lines aren't creased properly yet, so the thing to do is just to the scariest part really is to pull the card to the closed position and begin to establish these folds. So let me just pull that over. Sorry, the camera, that I'm going to peel that back just to show you, but normally you just pull that over. So we're bringing that bit over, creasing down our lines, putting that to there. You can feel if something's not quite right. It'll feel a bit lumpy or strange, or when it is right you can feel it as well. That'll kind of make sense when you do it, but that feels good to me. I can't feel anything that's kind of being forced out of shape. And now I can just gently rub that just to establish my lines, and there we go. That's our fireplace now. As we open up at 90 degrees we get our fireplace coming up. And do you see now we don't bend the snowman, the clock, and they stay sticking up, so we don't bend that line there. That sits proud there. Then they come up and out from the back as well. So the next thing to do now is attach it to the front of the card. Make sure that you do it the right way, so as they open the card like that, it's the right way showing when it's in there. So the technique for this put a little bit of glue just around the edges here to hold it. Hold that up there, just push that into the crease, and then just slowly put that down just so it holds itself nicely into position. Flip it over and then do the same for this side here. And now as we open up the card, that gives us a little bit of strength and we can see our mechanism working for us. To finish this card, we need to put in these remaining elements. So I've got the two Father Christmas legs, the Christmas tree, and just a backing panel that goes in behind the fireplace. So if I just remove those two for the moment and we'll just deal with the legs, you'll notice there's two holes. We're going to hang these from a piece of thread, a bit of cotton or something, with a little bit of cotton thread here. You could cut the holes and tie it. I wouldn't recommend it. I think the easiest thing, really, having tried it out, is just to cut your threads roughly to size and just stick a little bit of sellotape on those. If I just line that up there and there, we can just drop a little bit of tape, because you won't see this when it's behind the fireplace. They'll be dangling there, you won't be able to see them. So I'm just going to use a little bit of masking tape, because that works quite well. Pop a bit on there. Actually, you could be really neat and cut it nicely, couldn't you? Let's show you me being neat here. Cut a little bit there and pop that across. I quite like masking tape, it sticks well. And there we go, we've got our two dangly legs here hanging on a bit of thread. So what we've got to do is kind of drop these behind and just stick them on. So I'm going to feed this, if I can show you, it's a little bit tricky really, but we're going to just feed that behind the clock there and then just lay it down. I want that one. There's a left and a right as well, by the way, just to make life complicated. So if we can get those the right way round, and I was just about not to. There we go. So we have the legs sort of dangling like this, so they'll just flop about, and I've just rested those in position behind. You can see my little bits of thread here. So the next thing to do is just to very carefully stick a little bit of tape on that just to hold it. But I'm going